My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how a single piece of paper tore my family apart, how greed and betrayal turned love into ashes, and how I fought through a legal war to reclaim what was rightfully mine. It's not a tale of forgiveness or warm reunions. It's a raw, jagged wound of a story about a $15 million fortune, a grandmother I thought I knew, and a family that showed me just how cruel blood can be. I'm telling this because the truth deserves to be heard. Because I'm done carrying their lies, and because I want you to know, sometimes the people you die for are the ones who'll bury you first. It was a sweltering July afternoon in 2023 when the world I'd built came crashing down. I was at my grandmother's ranch, a sprawling 500-acre estate in the heart of Texas Hill Country, worth $5 million on its own, not counting the oil rights and the $10 million investment portfolio she'd tucked away in secret accounts. The ranch was a paradise, golden fields stretching to the horizon, a colonial-style mansion with wraparound porches and stables housing thoroughbred horses that gleamed like polished ebony. For years, I'd been the one keeping it alive. At 32, I'd put my life on hold to care for Grandma Rose, my mother's mother, who'd raised me like her own after my parents' divorce. I drove her to doctor's appointments, managed her medications, hired ranch hands, and balanced the books to keep the estate thriving. My aunts and uncles? They barely showed up, too busy with their own lives in Dallas or Houston, sending half-hearted birthday cards, but never their time. Grandma Rose was my rock, the one who'd taught me to ride horses, to stand tall, to believe in family. She'd always said the ranch was our legacy, a testament to our roots, and I poured my heart into it, thinking I was honoring her. My Uncle Frank, her youngest son, was the exception, or so I thought. He'd visit occasionally, flashing his charming smile, telling stories about his business ventures that never seemed to pan out. I didn't know then that those visits were less about love and more about manipulation, that he was weaving a web I'd only see when it was too late. Grandma passed in June 2023, her heart giving out quietly in her sleep. I was devastated, but I held it together, organizing her funeral, greeting mourners, and making sure her memory was honored. The will reading was set for a month later, and I didn't think much of it. I assumed the ranch would stay in the family, maybe split among her 5 children, my mother and her 4 siblings, with a portion for me, given how much I'd done. I wasn't greedy, I just wanted to keep the ranch alive, to preserve Grandma's legacy. But when that day came, everything I believed about my family shattered. The lawyer's office in Austin was sterile, all glass and chrome, a stark contrast to the warmth of the ranch. My mother, my aunts, my uncles, and I sat around a mahogany table, the air thick with anticipation. Uncle Frank was there, dressed in a flashy suit, his eyes glinting with something I couldn't place. The lawyer, a gray-haired man with a monotone voice, opened the will and began reading. I listened, waiting for my name, for some acknowledgement of the years I'd given. Instead, I heard words that felt like a punch to the gut. To my son, Franklin James Carter, I bequeath the entirety of my estate, including the Carter Ranch, all financial accounts and all personal assets, valued at approximately $15 million. The room spun. Franklin, Uncle Frank, the man who'd borrowed thousands from Grandma over the years, who'd gambled away his savings at casinos in Vegas, who'd shown up only when he needed something. The rest of the will was a blur, but one line stood out. To my granddaughter, Sarah Marie Ellis, I leave my love and trust in her strength. She does not need my wealth to shine. Love and trust? Strength? It was a platitude, a hollow pat on the head for the granddaughter who'd given everything. I wasn't mentioned anywhere else. Not a dime, not a memento, not even a share of the ranch I'd kept alive. I sat there, hands trembling, my heart pounding so loud I thought it might burst. My mother reached for my arm, but I pulled away, my eyes locked on Uncle Frank. He was grinning, a smug, victorious smirk that made my blood boil. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking but sharp. I've been the one taking care of her, of the ranch, for years, and you give it all to him? The lawyer cleared his throat, uncomfortable. This is your grandmother's final wish, Miss Ellis. Final wish? I didn't believe it. Grandma wasn't cruel. She wouldn't do this. Something was wrong. My aunts and uncles shifted in their seats, avoiding my gaze. My mother whispered, Sarah, let's talk about this later. But I couldn't wait. I turned to Frank. You barely visited her. You borrowed money you never paid back. Why you? His smile widened, venomous. Maybe she saw something in me you didn't, kid. Not everyone's out for a handout. A handout? I'd poured my life into that ranch, sacrificed my career, my relationships, my dreams, and he had the gall to call me greedy? I stormed out, the lawyer's voice fading behind me, my mother's pleas drowned by the roar in my ears. I drove back to the ranch, tears blurring my vision, questions clawing at my mind. Had Grandma always planned this? Was I just a fool, a caretaker she used and discarded? Or had Frank manipulated her, twisted her mind in her final years? I couldn't accept that the woman who'd raised me would betray me like this. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to let Frank's smirk be the end of it. The next few weeks were a haze of grief and rage. I moved out of the ranch house, unable to stomach staying in a place that now belonged to Frank. My mother tried to mediate, but her excuses rang hollow. Your grandmother was old, Sarah. Maybe she wasn't thinking clearly. Not thinking clearly? That was the first clue something was off. Grandma had been sharp until her last breath, her mind a steel trap despite her frail body. I started digging, calling old ranch hands, neighbors, anyone who'd seen Grandma in her final months. What I found lit a fire in me. One of the nurses, Maria, who'd helped care for Grandma, pulled me aside at a coffee shop. Sarah? She said, her voice low. Frank was always there when you weren't. He'd bring her papers to sign, whisper things when he thought no one was listening. I heard him once, saying you were too busy to care about her, that he was the one she could trust. My stomach churned. Frank had been poisoning her against me, planting lies while I was out paying her bills or fixing fences. Maria handed me a USB drive. I recorded some of their talks. I didn't know what to do with it, but you should hear it. I listened to the recordings that night, alone in my tiny apartment, my heart breaking with every word. Frank's voice, smooth and manipulative, filled the room. Mom, Sarah's got her own life. She doesn't need this place. Let me take care of it for you. Grandma's voice was weak, confused, but trusting. You're sure, Frankie? Sarah's been so good to me. Frank's reply was a knife. She's good, but she's not family like I am. Not family. I'd been more family to Grandma than he ever was, and he'd used her frailty to steal everything. I called Vanessa Reed, a lawyer I'd met through a friend, known for taking on impossible cases. She listened to my story, her eyes narrowing as I played the recordings. Sarah, she said, this is undue influence, maybe even fraud. If we can prove Frank coerced her, we can contest the will. But it won't be easy. Your family will fight dirty. I didn't care. I'd already lost Grandma. I wasn't losing the truth, too. We filed a lawsuit against Frank, seeking to invalidate the will and redistribute the estate. I also requested a forensic audit of Grandma's accounts, suspecting Frank had already started siphoning money. The backlash was immediate. Frank didn't just fight back, he declared war. He moved into the ranch, throwing lavish parties, driving Grandma's vintage Mustang like it was his birthright. He called me, his voice dripping with mockery. Give it up, Sarah. You're not getting a cent. Mom wanted me to have it, and you're just jealous. Jealous? I wasn't after the money. I wanted justice, for Grandma, for the ranch, for the years I'd given. My aunts and uncles rallied behind him, spreading lies that I was a gold digger, that I'd neglected Grandma, that I was tearing the family apart. My Aunt Linda posted on Facebook, some people think they deserve everything just because they did a few chores. Family doesn't sue family. The comments were brutal. Cousins I'd grown up with, family friends, even my high school teacher, all piling on, calling me ungrateful, heartless, a traitor. My mother was the worst. She didn't defend Frank, but she didn't defend me either. "Sarah, why can't you let this go?" she pleaded. "You're making us look bad." Look bad? They were the ones lying, stealing, betraying, and I was supposed to stay silent to save face? I blocked her number, cutting off the woman who'd given me life because she couldn't give me loyalty. The isolation was crushing, but I had Vanessa, Maria, and a burning need to set things right. The legal battle was a crucible, forging me in fire. Vanessa was a bulldog, uncovering evidence that turned the case in our favor. The audit revealed Frank had transferred $2 million from Grandma's accounts to an offshore account in the Caymans, starting months before her death. We found emails between Frank and a shady financial advisor, planning to liquidate the ranch's assets once he inherited. The recordings were our ace, showing Frank's manipulation, his lies about my absence, his pressure on a vulnerable woman. But Frank's lawyer, a slick Dallas hotshot, fought dirty, painting me as a vengeful granddaughter who'd bullied Grandma into giving me work. Miss Ellis expected a reward for her care, he sneered in court, and when she didn't get it, she turned on her own family. The courtroom was a battleground, packed with reporters sniffing out the drama of a $15 million family feud. I took the stand, my voice steady but raw, telling the jury how I'd loved Grandma, how I'd sacrificed my 20s for her, how Frank's lies had stolen her legacy. "I don't want the money," I said, tears burning my eyes. "I want the truth. I want my grandmother's wishes to be honored, not twisted by a man who saw her as a payday." The jury listened, some leaning forward, others scribbling notes. Frank's testimony was a disaster, arrogant, evasive, tripping over his own lies. When Vanessa played the recordings, his face went white, the courtroom buzzing with whispers. But the drama didn't stay in court. Frank escalated outside, hiring a PR firm to smear me. Articles popped up online. "Greedy granddaughter sues family for millions." "Texas ranch heiress betrays dying grandmother." My phone buzzed with hate messages from strangers. My email flooded with threats. One night, someone slashed my car tires, leaving a note, "Drop the case, or you'll regret it." I was terrified, but I refused to back down. Vanessa hired security, and we pushed forward, adding a defamation suit against Frank for orchestrating the smear campaign. The family's betrayal deepened. My Aunt Susan, who'd once braided my hair as a kid, testified for Frank, claiming I'd stressed Grandma out with my constant demands. Demands? I'd asked for nothing but her love. My cousin Jake, Frank's son, posted a video on TikTok, crying fake tears about how I was destroying our family legacy. It went viral, racking up millions of views, with comments calling me a money-hungry witch. I wanted to scream, to tell the world the truth. But Vanessa warned me to stay quiet, to let the evidence speak. The turning point came when Maria testified. She was nervous, her hands shaking, but her voice was clear. Frank told Mrs. Carter that Sarah didn't care about her, that she was too busy to visit. He'd bring papers, say they were for taxes, but I saw her sign things she didn't understand. The jury's faces shifted, a flicker of doubt about Frank's story. Vanessa followed with bank records showing Frank's withdrawals, and a handwriting expert who questioned the will's signature, suggesting it was signed under duress. The evidence was a tidal wave, and Frank's defense crumbled. The trial stretched into 2024, each day a fresh wound. I'd lost weight, sleep, hope, haunted by the family I'd once loved, but I clung to one thought. Grandma deserved better. The verdict came on a rainy March morning, the courtroom so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. The judge's voice was steady. The court finds the will invalid due to undue influence and fraud. The estate of Rose Carter is to be divided equally among her 5 children, with Sarah Ellis reimbursed $1.5 million for her contributions to the ranch's upkeep. Franklin Carter is ordered to pay $500,000 in damages for defamation. The room erupted. Gasps, murmurs, Frank's angry shout. I sat frozen, relief and exhaustion crashing over me. I'd won, but it didn't feel like victory. My mother stared at me, her eyes cold, as if I'd betrayed her. My aunts and uncles filed out, whispering, their faces twisted with resentment. Frank stormed toward me, his lawyer restraining him, his voice a hiss. "You'll pay for this, Sarah. You're nothing to us now." I looked him in the eye, my voice calm. "You were never my family, Frank. You're just a thief who got caught." The aftermath was chaos. The media swarmed, headlines screaming, "Granddaughter wins $15 million ranch battle. Texas family feud ends in courtroom showdown." I posted my story on Reddit, a raw account of the truth, and it exploded. Thousands of strangers offering support, sharing their own tales of family betrayal. It was a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't alone, but the family I'd known was gone. My mother sent one text, "I hope you're happy. You've ruined us." I didn't reply. I blocked them all, their numbers fading into the void where my trust used to be. I took my share of the estate, $3 million after taxes, and bought a small farm in Montana, far from Texas, far from the memories. The ranch was sold, its fields carved up by developers, Grandma's legacy reduced to condos and strip malls. Frank squandered his share, last I heard, gambling it away in Atlantic City. My aunts and uncles scattered, their bonds fractured by greed. I don't know if they regret it, and I don't care. They chose their side and I chose mine. The money sits in my account, untouched, a bitter reminder of what I lost. I walk my farm at dawn, the Montana sky endless above me, and I think of Grandma. Not the will, not the betrayal, but the woman who taught me to be strong. I won the fight, but the scars remain, etched into every quiet moment. I'm building a new life, surrounded by people who value me, not my wallet. But I'll never forget the lesson. Family isn't blood, it's loyalty, and mine failed that test. So here I am, telling my story, not for pity, but for truth. If you're listening, know this: fight for what's right, even when it breaks you, even when it's family. Because sometimes the only way to honor the ones you love is to stand up to the ones who hurt you most. And sometimes the only way to heal is to walk away, head high, and never look back.